Hello, everyone. Greg Diabla. This is my informative speech on how to win a chili cook-off. Chili cook-offs started somewhere around 1952, and prior to that, the history of chili was that early settlers and cowboys in Indian days used to gather all of their belongings off of a long trip and put them into a boiling pot and boil their meats and their sauces together. And it basically was a pot that was leftovers towards the end of the settler's trip. And it kind of evolved over the years, and one person said they could make a better leftover pot than the other, and that was kind of the history of how chili was created. Chili cook-offs, again, like I said, started in somewhere around 1952, but it wasn't until 1967 when the International Chili Society held the first chili cook-off in Texas. Of course, the judging uh, was argumentative. The competition really didn't go as well as planned until the next year in 1968 when Carroll Shelby from Shelby Ford got involved, and a lot of local area politicians and mayors decided that they wanted to participate in an organized chili cook-off. So that's a little bit of the history of how chili started and how competitions began, and basically it was just a cooking pride, so to speak, of how chili cook-offs have uh, evolved today. Um, there's certainly different types of chili cook-offs. A lot of times they're more centered around summer when you have county fairs, city functions, beach functions, or lake functions. They're used as fundraisers, some of them more organized than others. But overall, it's just an event where everybody gets together to have a really good time. Um, the fire department inherently has always been involved in some kind of chili cook-off because it's been associated with fundraising. We do a lot of fundraising in our organization. We do pancake breakfasts and the chili cook-off, and we do a surf competition because we're a coastal community, and we do a lot of other things that raise money. And most recently, we competed in the MDA, which is the Muscular Dystrophy Association chapter for San Diego County, where all the San Diego County fire departments get together and have a chili cook-off. It's held down in San Diego, down in the harbor at a place called the Embarcadero. It's a park that's right on the water. It's a great setting. And a lot of the San Diego County fire departments participate. There's beer vendors and food vendors from restaurants that come, and you pay a one-time fee and everybody goes and gets to eat the chili. But what's most important about that type of chili cook-off is that it's more about fun and there's more about presentation. And so when you compete in a chili cook-off, it's good to understand the rules, what the event is, so that you can present chili that would be desirable for the judges to get a good result. So let's start off with the kind of the do's and don'ts in chili. Historically, when you read competition chili, it doesn't have beans. There's no fillers. There's no garbanzo beans or rice or cheese or sour cream or onions. It's basically just meat and sauce. So that is traditional chili. Most of the time, when you don't have such stringent rules, when you add beans to chili, it does become a little bit more desirable. So it's something to consider if you're getting ready to compete with chili. So let's talk about some ingredients. Meats that you want to use. There's a variety of different ways that you can smoke your meat. You can dice it up, but choose a meat that's lean, like a tri-tip, a skirt steak, brisket. That works really well. Ground beef is sometimes not even allowed in some competitions, but oddly enough, when people use ground beef in their chili, it tends to do well in some of the more fundraiser type events versus the International Chili Society events, which are very strict in their rules of how you cook. So our cowboy chili that we just had in our last event, we won the People's Choice Award. So I'm going to go ahead and share some of those ingredients and the do's and don'ts. This ingredient will serve about 10 to 12 people. It's one pot of chili. However, the day of the event, we had to prepare chili that yielded nearly 20 gallons, and it's very, very difficult. That chili batch cost probably around $600 or $700 to make. Very difficult. So this recipe would call for a couple pounds of some flank steak or tri-tip. We use ground pork, some mild Italian sausage, and some hot Italian sausage. We use white onions, diced, and some garlic. It also has jalapenos and some poblano chilies. Now on the poblano chilies, if you're going to use fresh chilies, you want to smoke those chilies and skin them and then dice them up. A replacement, if you wanted to use like canned chili, would be an Ortega chili. And then you also want to dice up your habanero chilies. We would then add the spices, which is going to be chili powder. Gebert's chili powder is a very common chili powder that you can find in the grocery store. And that was what we used in our chili. You want to put some cumin, some pepper, a little bit of oregano, and then you're going to salt it to taste. Okay, put a little bit of salt and pepper in there. Other spices are going to include paprika, cayenne pepper, and some people will use brown sugar. We found in a little bit of an alternative to brown sugar. This time we used Jack Daniels, and we put quite a bit of Jack Daniels in our chili for this particular cook-off, and then forego the brown sugar. And then you want to simmer in some bay leaves. The liquids that you want to add is you're going to add some beef stock. You're going to add some Mexican-style stewed tomatoes and regular stewed tomatoes. Okay, and again, I already mentioned that we used some Jack Daniels. In the past, we've used some beers. We try to keep it like an American style, so we've used PBR in the past. We've used a lot of different types of American beers, and this time we went with Jack Daniels, and it tended to be very desirable and well liked. So those are some of the recipe recommendations. More specifically, we can get into amounts, but really when you cook your chili, the foundation of what you want to do is you want to prepare your meat, simmer it in the sauces, and then you want to add the spices in what's called a dump. You want to dump 2 or 3 times. And generally when you go into a chili competition, you want to add that last dump of spices that are about an hour before judging. Things that you also want to consider is you got to have a booth that's going to be themed. You want to present the chili with friends, family, party goers that are going to help kind of sell your chili in a sense that's going to be desirable for the public, and also let the judges know that you're there to have a good time. Again, we were first place for the People's Choice Award. Over the years, we've probably won 20 to 30 different awards when cooking chili, and those are just some of the real basic tools and instruments to consider if you want to compete in a chili cook-off. If you have any questions, please contact me, and thank you for listening.